and I have known each other for, I don't know, 15 years or something like that, because we're both, our day jobs, we're marketing nerds. And then I look up one day and you're sharing music stuff with me on Instagram or Facebook or something like that. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, you've got this music festivals podcast. How did that come about? When did you start that, and how did it all come together?
Yeah, so it's about 4 months old now and completely a midlife crisis. You know, I've been doing digital marketing for a long time, like you said, and I've got all these skills that I've been doing for other people. And I just hit a point in life where I went, I kind of want to do my own thing. Like I want to do my own project. So I was at, where was it? Oh, CEX. It was a Polizzi's thing in Cleveland. I was there with a client of mine, and we're sitting in one of the podcast sessions, and they're talking about, how you got to love what you're doing because it's tedious to keep up and whatnot. And then they get into the whole thing on search. And I'm like, yeah, I've been doing search my whole career. And so I started trying to think about what search terms or stuff that I really like, and music festivals came up. And so I get on GoDaddy, and I'll be damned, Music Festivals Podcast exists as a domain. And so I bought it right during the session. And then I sat on it for 18 months or something like that. Cause it's kind of, that'd be a lot of fun. How are you going to make money on it? I got 3 kids. We live, in a fairly big house that's hard to heat. And so I didn't do anything with it. And then I was at Dark Star Jubilee last year with a group of 10 friends, my wife, and we're having a great time. And I'm up there with my cell phone shooting Keller Williams and whatnot. And I just had this moment of why the hell am I not doing this? And so that was the first festival. That was when it started.
Nice. So wait, am I supposed to go now?
Yeah.
Okay. So sorry. This is so unlike what we've done before that I'm looking at the script and I'm like, what am I supposed to be saying something?
Just ideas. Let's just talk.
All right. So we're talking and
yes.
We're going to edit that bit out. Okay. Yeah. So what is your story then, Nate, from being a music fan, creator, marketing dude? Give us a little bit of your background.
So in terms of just my music, as a music fan,
mm-hmm.
I mean, my first exposure to music festivals, it's interesting. So I worked as a lifeguard in high school at this place called Clays Park Resort in North Lawrence, Ohio. And it was a camping, kind of resort that had a big lake and campground hookups and things like that. And they used to have this thing called the Alive Festival. So it was a Christian rock music festival. And I used to work it. So we would run around on golf carts and confiscate all the alcohol that all the Christians were bringing into the campground and then go have parties afterwards. It was a lot of fun. Shout out to all my old former lifeguard associates. That was a good time.
That's so fantastic. Yeah. Christians with their booze. I love it.
It's right. Water. It's wine. It's water. It's wine.
Yeah. But it was a lot of fun. And then I always forgot too, they had a bluegrass festival there and we would work that. And that was a more traditional bluegrass festival. And I think I didn't really get into bluegrass until I was in college, but that was my first exposure to it. And it was one of the very traditional bluegrass festivals, right? a lot of workshops and people just picking around camp and whatnot. And it was a lot of fun to see that. And then ended up going to college and, partying like everybody else. And I got into a band called Acoustic Hookah. They've been around Ohio for 30 plus years. And they have a festival that's one of the older festivals in the country called Hookahville. And I've been going to Hookahville I think I've probably been to at least 40 of them. I had a short stint where, kids are born and they're young and you got to kind of take a break from that stuff. But it was the festival that really got me into festivals, right? Just going into this, I used to call it Disneyland for hippies. It was, it was a total ride. And they're still one of my favorite bands to this day. In fact, they're doing the 60th anniversary of Hookahville. So not 60 years, but 60 different versions of Hookahville coming up this spring in Newark, Ohio, of all places. So it's going to be at a campground in the middle of Newark, Ohio, right downtown. It'll be an experience. That's going to be something interesting.
That's cool. It's funny when you said the Christian rock festival or whatever that you started out at when you were in a lifeguard there in high school. The first music festival I ever went to was Ichthus, which is a Christian music festival in Wilmore, Kentucky, which is where Asbury College is. And they had it there for a long time. I don't know if it still exists, but I know when I was in high school, if you were in the church youth group at any church in Kentucky, everybody piled in a van or a bus and you went to Ichthus for the weekend.
Yeah.
And I went one year, and the headliner that year, for all of you Christian music fans out there, you'll get a kick out of this. If you've heard of them, Mylon Lefevre and Broken Heart was the headliner. And let me tell you something. If you don't know who that is, that's okay. But if you ever listened to Christian rock in the 70s or 80s, he was a big damn deal. He was like the Elvis of Christian rock at the time. So I got to see Mylon Lefevre and Broken Heart once upon a time in Asbury, Kentucky. I think it's the only one I went to. I was like, yeah, this is my vibe.
I got nothing. No Christian music experience at all, except church hymns. But, you know.
Yeah, well, those are fine too. So you kind of, you kind of went through that list there. I'm curious though. You've talked a little bit about the festivals and what you went to. Do you play? Were you ever like in an actual band or anything?
Yeah, so let me see if I can get my camera to follow me. Oh, there's a guitar back there.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait, you guys aren't a video podcast. Sorry, I'm used to doing video.
That's all right. We can use the clip for promo.
No, so I'm a campfire strummer at best. I kind of was reared in college playing hand percussion, bongos, djembes, things like that. So it's one of the things I miss about festivals. A lot of times now festivals, it goes late into the night. And so there's no longer like the set's over and now everybody gets drums out and just jams around a campfire. I try to play a little bit of mandolin, but I'm much better at playing iTunes and Nugs and Spotify. I'm very talented at playing Spotify.
You can DJ better than you can play, is what I'm hearing. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I resemble that remark as well.
Yeah.
Nice. So what you talked about the lifeguard campground festival experience. Other than that, what are some of your best memories and experiences from music festivals?
So I wrote down some stuff on this because it is fun. You get to remembering this stuff and it gets fun. I'm like, oh, I remember how I felt when I was there. I got to go to a festival called one of the Hookahvilles. Hookahville 50 was with like some of our very best friends. And at that festival, we got to see Billy Strings before he was the Billy Strings of today. So they were like the afternoon act and Jared. It wasn't even the full band, but that was impressive as hell. Bonnaroo 2008 was the first big festival I went to, and that was stellar. Outside of, Manchester, Tennessee is really, really hot in the summer, so that was a little bit miserable, but got to see B.B. King, got to see Metallica, got to see Dave Chappelle. One of the side stages had Yonder Mountain String Band, still with the late Jeff Austin. That was amazing. Yonder was like my first major bluegrass band that I got into. So yeah, those are I even get like tingly thinking about it. Like that's what music festivals do for me. Like I go there and it's just like reliving that experience, but that was a great one.
Yeah. That sounds like a hell of a roster, man. I remember I probably saw Billy Strings about the same time you did, because he was at the first Railbird. So that would have been 2017 or 2018, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And I saw he was one of the really small stages, kind of in between the two big stages. My friend Wes and I we walked in and I just see this guy wailing on a guitar. And I'm like, who in the fuck is that? He looks like he's 12. And we walked over and stood there and I made a note, Billy Strings. And I had it in a note on my phone because I didn't want to forget the kid's name. Because I thought he was really good. And so that would have been about the same time you saw him, I think, around in that 2017, 2018 era.
Yeah. And the very first time I saw him was at this little place in Columbus called, at the time it was called Bar of Modern Arts, or BOMA. Now it's called the Bluestone, but it's a venue that they built in an old church. And it's actually a really interesting place to see shows, but it was the same reaction you had where we were up in the balcony, which was the old choir loft. And we're up there, we're just there to see somebody else. And I think it might've been Yonder. And all of a sudden, everybody turns on, who the fuck is this guy on guitar? Yeah. And then you realize, he was playing an acoustic.
Yeah.
I've been a huge Billy fan ever since then. I actually have like 3 Billy Strings tattoos.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is a little bit strange, but I got so the whole tattoo thing, I've got festival art on my legs that comes from different festival posters and stuff. If you're on video, you'd see my posters, but I love the whole vibe of it, right?
Yeah.
Like the art and everything else.